Interpretation reimagined. And like interpretation that we're going to blow up and reconstruct before your very eyes, we are going to present a different speaker than expected. We've got Nicole Moore from Leeds Castle instead of Sue Prichard. Unfortunately, Sue Prichard today had a family event that prevented her from being here today. So Nicole has kindly stepped in as her marketing manager at Leeds Castle, and Nicole has been vital to the project, and she's very kindly stepped in to give me a hand today. So, not Sue, Nicole. But here we see the project at Leeds, which is a part of a wider interpretation plan that Nicole and I will get into. Nicole, I will probably introduce Nicole, or say hello at least.
Hi guys, so yeah, Nicole from Leeds Castle. Just in case anyone was unsure, I'm Nicole, not Sue, just to clarify.
Good. So we will get to Leeds, but first I will introduce who we are. So I work for a company called Orfeo Acoustiguide. You may be aware of both those brand names in the market. We both are visitor services companies that have long brand associations in the industry, and 2025 we have joined to become one company, which is Orfeo, and Orfeo Acoustiguide has been merged into the Orfeo group. So Orfeo Acoustiguide operates out of 16 offices around the world. We have combined actually much more than 30 years experience, because Acoustiguide, I think, was started in the 1950s. So these slides probably need to be updated to reflect that extraordinary legacy in terms of content creation, visitor experience, revolutionizing visitor experience. So out of our 16 offices, we have sites in 56 countries, and we are constantly reimagining new ways to tell stories of sites. As part of our services, we offer a huge sway of skill sets, be that technology and manufacturing. So we manufacture, research and design all our own technology in France in our head office. You're welcome to visit us on stand B1 and see what's the latest innovations in terms of museum technology. Very crucial as part of this, because we are actually a manufacturer and not a reseller. We have the combined strength of having the software package and the hardware package combined, which gives us greater opportunities to revolutionize interpretation with things like augmented reality, experiences that blow minds of visitors through the realms of the impossible and making them possible. Content creation as well. We have 4 recording studios around the world, and we're able to make content quickly, update things for clients. We also do staff operations, so we do staff operations here in London and throughout the world. You may have seen an Acoustiguide staff member at the Tower of London give you a multimedia guide, or you might see an Orfeo member of staff give you a multimedia guide at Versailles. We do sites throughout the world. Statue of Liberty is another one. Audio-visual integration. These are sort of buzzwords that are getting much more required with sites, where we integrate the traditional tour interpretation with all sensory experiences. So you're having your sound, visual, and also the device and the interpretation that you would traditionally hear on an audio guide. This is a very interesting thing, and I hope to get to it as well, then, is this idea of immersive night walks, where we take heritage outside of the traditional bounds. We make heritage or whatever story you want to make it, and we bring it outside and reinterpret the site to then maybe hopefully get a visitor to come back in the daytime when they may not have ever wanted to go to a site, because it's a completely different approach. So I look forward to getting to that to you. Just quickly again, this is a suite of products of types of Orfeo services we make. Again, always researched, developed and designed by Orfeo in France. References around the world of different sites. So as you can see, we've worked with most major museums and brands. But that's not what you wanted to hear about. You wanted to hear about storytelling and how to approach interpretation. And today I've been joined with wonderful Nicole here, and we're going to be talking about a few different aspects we've been doing at Leeds Castle. So Nicole, I think a really good launching pad would be to talk about your wider interpretation of Leeds Castle and the challenges of that, what that presented.
Of course. So I think it all started around 4 years ago, we had a new CEO, Helen Bonser-Wilton, join us, and we wanted to change things up. We had probably quite stagnant interpretation for about 30 years. Nothing really changed. It told one side of Leeds Castle story, but not really the authentic side. So we went on a huge project to really bring the castle to life, explore our heritage and be a lot more authentic in our storytelling, whether that's interpretation, through to our marketing, through to our customer experiences on site. That kind of started with a huge project that kicked off understanding our spirit of place. Who are we? And through that process, we learned that we actually aren't that typical masculine castle with wars and fights and so on. We're a very feminine castle. We have an incredible history of female queens, which is quite unheard of. We are the phrase that has always stuck with me, Leeds Castle was very much equipped to fight battles with a banana. We're not a masculine castle. We were not here for fighting, but we are here for hospitality. And that has threaded through our over 900 years of history. And what we wanted to do is, when we were bringing the castle to life, was kind of create something a little bit more authentic in what we wanted to discuss, what we wanted to kind of bring that storytelling element through, hence why we kind of reinterpreted to the 1930s, which is a lot more in line with Lady Bailey, our previous owner, who had a fascination for our heritage and the history of Leeds Castle spanning the 900 years. However, from that, what we learned is once we've launched, we had lost a huge part of our audience from that heritage, who wanted that Tudor history, who wanted that medieval history, to which where Edward stepped in and the team at Orfeo, and we kind of started to kind of work through different audio guides and different ideas of what that multimedia experience could be for our customers, because what we wanted for them is to feel like they were an extension of Lady Bailey's guests, not just coming to see a museum and kind of seeing placards everywhere and it being kind of quite a us and them experience. We wanted to make it more of a kind of an inclusive experience and an exclusive journey. So we were very thrilled to kind of work with the team and kind of launch that first phase of the multimedia guide.
Yeah, and so that was a very interesting challenge, because as Nicole was saying, you had 900 years of history. And when you go to Leeds Castle, the experience looks like a castle, but a lot of it is not reality. It's a reconstruction. It's a more of a 19th century fantasy of a castle. There are original parts of Leeds Castle, of course. There's wonderful gloriettes, and there's a fireplace that still has the carved pomegranate of Catherine of Aragon, so there is heritage there. But the truth is, a lot of it is a built heritage. It's a heritage that's evolved over time. And many of you may be sitting here and work in heritage sites. And it's very hard when you work in a heritage site about which moment in time you are, because a continuum of history continues. And this is what is very, very damaging to a site, when you lock yourself in and you're only about this period. Because if you have a continuum of history and you're only focusing about one part of the history, the work you're doing today is wonderful, but you are in a continuum. So this castle or site will outlive you. And so what is the relevance to the visitor in 300 years' time? Because we're looking at some sites that have a continuum. So working with Leeds, we worked, it's a partnership model, looking over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hopefully 10 years, and looked at what are the key aspects that we need to drive home to visitors. So this was very radical and very, very brave, to remove all the Tudor interiors, things that look great for a visitor. But this isn't a plastic sword, castle experience. This is actually a woman's retreat. This is a castle that Queens of England, wealthy people owned, and it was a place of comfort, of refuge. So telling the general public that's used to coming in and seeing sort of knights in armour and all this, that actually this might not be what this site is a very, very brave decision. And how we did this is looked at a structured approach to interpretation. So step one has been the installation of a multimedia guide tour. So visitors who may have walked around and almost had a schizophrenic moment that went from, well, I went last year and it was Tudor, and this year it's 1930s, and no explanation or limited understanding, because your visitor, as much as we write lovely wall panels, isn't necessarily going to read them. So you do have to take your visitors with them. Absolutely. So what we did there was install a automatically triggered tour. So as visitors progress throughout the castle, they're able to be hit with information and it moves on. By doing this and making a multi-layered content and script, we prepared ourselves for the most exciting thing, which is what we're about to talk about, which is our second tour. And looking at making content that's specific for different publics. I always say the general public is getting slightly more general, and that's true in working in heritage sites. You've got to be relevant. People can stay at home and watch Netflix. They watch it on the tube, on their telephone. You've got to be exciting. You've got to make it relevant. People are used to listening to podcasts now where they can get quick access for information. So we've got to make real life exciting. And this is where Tour 2, which is called Invitation to Decadence, came in. Using the same system that we put in for the general tour that explained the multifaceted levels of history, we have created a 1930s immersive house guest weekend. And I'd love you to continue on that.
Of course. So what's really exciting about this 1930s tour is it's based on our social histories project that our curatorial team pulled together. We have clear examples of Lady Bailey staff, of guests, of visitors within that time, and we've kind of created like a Radio 4 documentary series talk show of their experiences with Lady Bailey that is too authentic to actually what would have happened within the estate. I won't give any examples away, but definitely hit me up if you want to come and visit for some tickets to experience it once we launch in a month, because it's going to be very fascinating, hilarious stories. Just think Downton Abbey, but real life, and kind of all of those stories coming through. But what's amazing about it is we're able to share, again, another layer of authentic interpretation, authentic storytelling that kind of leads on to really kind of giving a different part of our heritage audience, something new to explore, something new to experience. Yes, we do tackle that medieval and the Tudor history that we have, but having something a lot more authentic that's not so much the glitz and the glam of Errol Flynn or Charlie Chaplin who came to visit Leeds Castle, but the actual staff below stairs who kind of had to deal with Lady Bailey bringing in zebras or wanting to completely change the interpretation because she's got, I don't know, Winston Churchill coming down for dinner, and there was an amazing painting that she acquired in London or in her escapades to the Bahamas or so on. So it's a really fascinating tour, and we're very excited to kind of get feedback and be able to kind of keep threading onto that multimedia experience and that multi-layered experience that we are starting with our guests.
Yeah, and I think that's the most exciting thing about the tour, because all of you probably have sites that have lots of content or information or stories that you want to tell. And you have to work out of different ways of telling them. So if you have a standard general tour, that might not be applicable for all the information or the storylines you're going to try and get across. So what we're doing as part of the interpretation of Leeds Castle is giving options. So as a part of the Tour 2 and this narrative approach, we looked at a social history recording program that Leeds was doing and hearing those voices of the staff, hearing those little societal anecdotes and being able to weave them into narrative. So a visitor can come, learn about the story of Leeds Castle, learn about Britain on the cusp of World War II, hear little chatter of servants talking about David Niven playing cards in the servants' hall, or Wallace and Edward had been to stay the week before. Was von Ribbentrop there? Were they leaking Nazi information? There's a wonderful level of mystique that's there. But we've used the real people. So the butler that greets you on the guide is the butler. And the maid's name is the correct maid's name. So it's been really fun to add those actual characters and give them a voice. So as part of this idea of weaving content as well, we're not going to stop there. We're wanting to continue to grow those audiences. And I think this is really interesting as well, Nicole, with projects in the future of rolling out a family tour and also wider estate tours. There's amazing, amazing things. I don't know if you've been to Leeds Castle, but it's certainly a whole day out. And trying to bring those stories and make them relevant to different parts of the estate.
Absolutely, and I think it's just where we want to go with our kind of visitor experience. We don't want it to stay stagnant. Our ambition is to introduce something new each year, bring in different experiences, whether you are that heritage audience or whether you're that family audience and everything in between. We target 9 months to 90 years old, like I'm sure many of you do, so it's finding different ways that we can kind of really engage our visitors and share authentic stories. And I think the biggest thing is the authenticity. As I've said probably like 100 times, it's a great drinking game if you want to do that while I'm staying. But yeah, it's a really fascinating experience, and I think going on in the next couple of years to the family tour, but also wider estate, we have the most incredible parklands, over 500 acres, but then also 1,000 acres with places further afield. So it's kind of really just the starting point for kind of where we want to take our interpretation, really.
Absolutely. I think it might be interesting now to come back to Nicole and this project, but just to give you a quick whistle stop around the world to see some really amazing approaches to interpretation and different ways of storytelling. So, as everyone is aware, accessibility is becoming extremely important in terms of, well, it should always be important because you want to make your sites as accessible as possible, but access to funding, doing new projects to open up collections, make your site relevant to the world around us. You may have already seen this site. I think we showed this program, and please come to our stand and see it. This is a project we did with sign language. It won the International Award for Accessibility. It was for an Andy Warhol exhibition in Rome. And we put accessibility at the front of interpretation. So too often accessibility is an afterthought, something that's added to if you've got budget, if you've got time, or we can't, or we wanted to do it, but we decided to do something else. This made accessibility everyone's cup of tea. So we painted sign actors, like the Andy Warhol. So this is a Marilyn, but we did Jackie Onassis, we did Mick Jagger, we did Elizabeth Taylor, and we had all these actors painted to look like Warhol paintings. And we merged different technologies we have. So we used image recognition, so the device picked up on the actual Andy Warhol picture, it would come alive, and then we use augmented reality. So it wasn't a static video. You could move your device closer or further away from Marilyn, and everyone who took the tour, the only way they could find out information was via sign language. So we would obviously have the spoken text and sign at the same time, but the experience was a sign experience. So that's a really, really exciting project and really putting accessibility to the front of interpretation. If you've not seen it, please come and see us in side B1, and we can show you the project. This is more about immersive projects. This is another interesting conversation when you're looking at maybe more modern museums that have much more digitization. It's about making the story come alive with the device and the narrative. So here's the Sir John Monash Centre at Villas Bretanya, Commonwealth War Games site. If you look at how many screens, I think we've got something like 260 in-sync screens, and the bullets will ricochet all around you, and the stories come to life via your audio device. So it's about not having interpretation as something added on, but something integrated into your wider system. These are some night walks, which I'll get into as well, but you can see we're getting more visual. We live in a visual world, digital world. We're never off our telephones, so dopamine does rule our minds. These are installations. This is a really fabulous project we've just done in conjunction with Microsoft in the Vatican. It's just about to open, an incredibly big project. This is the Dome of St. Peter's of an up roof tour, and you're able to walk and have an augmented experience in the Dome of St. Peter's. So much more into video mapping, much more into integrating content in the visual, but also with audio. So it's no longer just about providing a level of interpretation. It's about making it an experience. I think that's fundamentally, in the 30 years of our business, we've always called ourselves a visitor services company. That makes us sound like accountants. That's changed. We're now a visitor experience company, because every visitor who comes in your door will look for an experience, because it's the difference between that and watching telly. And you've got to be better at telly, and the future is about that. That's where our immersive night walks come into heritage. We're doing much more of this. This is Carcassonne in France. Visitors take an audio guide. They walk around the ramparts of an ancient fortress. Visitors who may be traditionally afraid to go to a heritage site, enter a museum, go to a landscape that they might not feel comfortable going, are able to be led by a narrative. You can have a narrative about anything. It could be content that is site-specific. So a visitor who walks around this experience will learn about medieval knights, moments of courtly love, things that relate to the city of Carcassonne. But in the day, they think, oh, that was a lot of fun. The children really love that. They want to know more. Let's go to the museum. And that's what we want to get to. So you've got to think about new ways of interpreting what you have to lure people through the door. Again, great revenue raiser. This kind of stuff, this is projects we do in vineyards, we do it in private parks, estates. We do these type of projects around the world, be it a heritage or commercial site. But this is the tour. You can see you walk along the ramparts. Revenue. The most important thing for any site is revenue, because that's how you keep the door open and the roof on. So as you can see, visitor expectations keep growing. People are looking for experiences. If you want to make your site accessible, enjoyable, you have to be relevant. You have to invest in your visitor experience. And that is actually our time, but we're allowed to open up for questions. So I'm sure you've got some questions with Nicole, because I think Leeds is an incredible site because they've been investing a lot into visitor experience and a very brave new interpretation approach. So please, if you've got any more questions. Oh, the only last slide I wanted to show, all of the things I showed you are about data capture. And if you're not capturing your data is capturing you, because you need to know your visitors. You need to know your demographics who are coming, because by knowing your visitors, you are able to tailor your experiences to them, and you're able to make these bespoke experiences. And don't think that you will just do one event or one activation. Look at doing a project that will go for 5 years, 10 years, 8 years, whatever it is, because the more you run projects, even a small one, the better you'll know your publics and the better you can target your projects to your visitors. Thank you.
So thank you guys. Any questions from anybody in the audience? Was that a hand or just waving the hand?
Well, that's good.
Nothing from anyone. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Very enlightening.
Thank you.
I need to make a trip down to Leeds Castle.
Oh, let me know.
Thank you, Nicole.
No worries.